So I'd like to invite Ged Edwards now to the rostrum. Ged works in network development for the Caritas Social Action Network. Nationally, he and I have been working closely together because his is very much the guiding hand for me in becoming part of this greater scene that Caritas represents. And so, Ged, do step forward out of the out of the ether and tell us a bit about what Caritas means and what it is, the invitation that we are taking up here.
I'll do my best, Paul. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be with you this morning, on a beautiful morning. At least it is in Merseyside, which is where I'm speaking to you from. I hope you can all hear me. Please let me know if you can't. And it's my pleasant task to set some of the scene and pick up on some of the points that Bishop Patrick has just made so well to you. He talked about the threefold mission of the church and read from that piece at the bottom of the slide here. The church's deepest nature is expressed in her threefold responsibility of proclaiming the word of God, celebrating the sacraments, and exercising the ministry of charity. These duties presuppose each other and are inseparable. In other words, we can't be Christians without all of those three things. It's really vital that they're all part of our daily life and our parish lives. And that's put into this double helix. I must explain that my boss is a former GP and he likes double helixes and things like that as a GP. But it brilliantly expresses what those three things are: of proclamation, of celebration, and ministry. And like all helixes, they're bound together by the grey things in the middle, which are actions, events, and strategies and documents. If I just move on to obviously expressing what we've got there, which is that Caritas is, the Latin word is not just love, but in Christian terms, the love for humanity through charitable concern and action delivered effectively. And Pope Francis says that Caritas is the caress of the church to its people, the caress of the mother church to her children, its tenderness and closeness. A beautiful photograph, I think. Here's the helixes again, and it talks about those three things, which are different ways of writing the dynamic of Caritas. Come and find rest, says Jesus says in Matthew. Stay and be fed and nurtured, and then go and bring about that kingdom that he spoke about. And on the left, in terms of poverty, it's about alleviation, reduction, and then eradication, removing it from the face of the earth. And on the right, how we might do that within the church: emergency support through training and skills, and campaigning and volunteering to make the world a better place. In other words, not just something just puts a sticking plaster, but actually addresses the causes that make the world an unjust place. And Caritas is a necessary component of the way that humanity lives, because of the assault on people's dignity and the solidarity of us all. It's absolutely an essential part of the church's action. And it is, as Bishop Patrick said, a massive worldwide movement that we are hoping very much that you will join. Of course, you're already doing this, and we want you to add your strength to that of the rest of Caritas. Set up in 1954, it is now in 165 nations across the world, held together by a confederation called Caritas Internationalis. And that the confederation is based in Rome, in the Vatican, and its three elements are those three strands that you've just seen of humanitarian relief and support, development and welfare, and advocacy and particularly enabling the voice of the poor to be heard by those who can make a difference. That's vital. Please do go onto the Caritas website. You'll find out some more, the CI website. And this is one of the great secrets of the Church. We are part of the biggest humanitarian operation on the planet, and very few people know about it. And it's a thing to rejoice in. It really is. So it is a global Caritas network. Please have a look as these images from CAFOD appear of the national HQs, if you like, of Caritas, because they're all fed into an infrastructure, a network across the world. And if you have a look at that at country level or European level, for example, CSAN and CAFOD are part of Caritas Europa, which is a subset, a small part of Internationalis. And that wonderful arterial and Venus diagram that Paul's very kindly forwarded to me brilliantly expresses the way that Caritas Nottingham will work as part of the network, which is global. Here in England and Wales, there are 2 organisations. That's quite unusual across the world. There's usually just one that does domestic work that's national to England and Wales, and work which is international. But here we have 2, and that's a historical feature. CAFOD, of course, and Caritas. So CAFOD, of course, does the international work, and Caritas is Caritas Social Action Network covers our national work. And I have the privilege of being a CAFOD employee and on secondment to Caritas Social Action Network to try and enable the 2 organisations locally to work better together. So Bishop Patrick spoke about Pope Benedict and Deus Caritas Est. In 2012, Pope Benedict went on to clarify what it was that he wanted to happen at each diocese on the national level. And this is the instruction that he's given to the bishops. The bishop is to encourage in every parish of his territory the creation of local Caritas services or similar bodies, which will also promote in the whole community educational activities aimed at fostering a spirit of sharing and authentic charity. So this is about us learning together and about us producing the fruits of that learning in our outreach to individuals, both home and away. And that document is available publicly. And this is our country. Of course, England and Wales, covered by the Catholic Bishops' Conference of England and Wales. And this is the progress that we've made so far to date since the foundation of CSAN in 2003, 17 years ago. So you should see, if I can get this working. Yeah, there we are. Let me go back a second and let me just have a look, see if I can get that working properly. There we are. The Salford started, then Westminster, and you'll see that Caritas is joined in no particular order, all dependent upon local circumstances. Yeah. So the last one that was set up was Arundel and Brighton down here in January this year, and I was present at that. It was a great occasion, and it was led by the Justice and Peace Commission, and Bishop Richard was very much in support of it, as Bishop Patrick is now. And these are the organisations of Caritas that I'm expecting to join in the next 2 to 3 years. Those are as far as we can predict. So there are still some dioceses there in the background, but we are expecting and hoping that you will join us early next year. And I know that's been delayed by COVID. It's not an intentional delay. But as you can see, you're joining a family. We work better together, as Bishop Patrick said. And you reflect that same capillary action that we looked at before. And as a CAFOD employee, you know, I know that the church reaches out to people in the furthest most parts of the world, 12,000 feet up in the Andes, 45 degrees Celsius in the Niger deserts in Sahara, you know. And Maggie and I both went to the Philippines and saw in the Philippines a devastated village restored with the help of Caritas right at the end of the very last road in one of the less popular parts of the country. Because when 2 or 3 are gathered in his name, that's where his spirit will be. And that really is the case, and has been the case ever since Constantine took the church on. So this is what you're joining. You are already connected to the Bishops' Conference of England and Wales, through Bishop Patrick, of course. But you become part of the Bishops' Conference agency in CSAN, part of the global Caritas family, that community of action about encounter, as Bishop Patrick said, education, training, practice and formation, particularly in Catholic social teaching. And again, that's about us training as disciples. And then finally, acting, not just acting by reaching out to our sisters and brothers who are in need, but also acting again through explaining that action has been necessary, and it doesn't have to be that way. There is a better way, and we can advocate for justice. And providing a coherent voice across the church, so we speak with authority. And this is part of our birthright. This isn't just something that's haphazard. This is founded on the church and Jesus' words to us. And here you are with the most familiar symbol, I think, of justice and peace, of see, judge and act. And what we are trying to do, of course, in Nottingham, is to map and encounter the realities, to identify the assets, the Catholic and local community as well, to respond, and then interpret what we see in the light of the gospel, in the light of Catholic social teaching, to become stronger disciples together and build our vocation and reach out. And finally, developing practical and political responses for mission, locally and with others across the diocese, and leading into national action and international action. And that's so important. Pope Francis called campaigning, called engaging in politics, one of the highest forms of community love. And it's really important that we do that. And I know I'm speaking to the converted here, but if I look at the very basic details that happened, for example, in Liverpool, when there was a scheme floated called community sponsorship, which you'll be perhaps familiar with, about a family from Syria being taken in by a parish, found a home and helped to set up. It was the Justice and Peace Commission in Liverpool that pushed and pushed and pushed for that model, and the social justice arm, the social action arm of the church in Nugent, being able to respond eventually. But both elements are really necessary. That is absolutely crucial. You cannot separate the two. You must not separate the two. And all of the value of both actions need to be included in what you do. So if you don't, you end up with a Justice and Peace Commission that just knows better what should be done. And if you end up with just doing charity, you do reach out. You both make a difference, but you do reach out to people. But actually it's fairly bland and isn't really listening to the latest issues, nor indeed making that experience known so that changes can be made. So this is our mission, and as you wouldn't be surprised to see those three elements of development, of formation and advocacy that mirror the development, the dynamic earlier on. So that's of Catholic Social Action members, development of forming them, helping them to form and be better, if you like, reach out better in a more concerted way, and a public voice in the Catholic arena. And Pope St. John Paul said this, that national Caritas agencies have an important role over 100 countries to animate and coordinate. Those are the two words that we use, animate and coordinate, not dictate, but just to help you locally to be able to do what you do and what you can do better. That spirit of subsidiarity means that actions that are taken locally should be taken locally and can be. Okay. And just in terms of some of those things, here is a piece of advocacy that we have done recently, promoted care in time, which is a huge outstanding issue on the rights of older people, the dignity of older people, and the crisis which is facing not just older people's care in the community, but also in Catholic institutions which are declining. They are still the largest group of residential and nursing home units, but they are folding because of lack of numbers coming forward. And an action there which is around social isolation and taking the experience of our sisters agencies, sister and brother agencies across the country to reach out to people through groups in our local parish communities through there's a website there. Education and formation, Catholic social teaching. There are 2 forthcoming research documents in the offing, and a little bit more about CSAN membership. This is the last slide. There are 48 members. Mainly they are independent members, and just under half are diocesan Caritas agencies, and there are some networks too. And those independent members vary in size and reach, and they offer specialist services from the cradle to the grave, providing services like Faith and Families does in the diocese, and often serving the most excluded. They might be migrants or homeless people. They might be prisoners. They might be women escaping prostitution, for example. So that's a whistle-stop tour. I'm very much looking forward to the rest of the day and meeting some of you in the groups in particular. And thank you again for listening. Paul, back to you.
Thank you very much, Jed.